Hiya folks, welcome to the breakdown or match ratings, whatever way you want to look at it. We're going to have a look back at last night's win over West Ham United. I've had a chance to watch the game a second time in a much calmer fashion, knowing that the result was in our favour, and some very good bits to talk about last night. There are still some areas that Leeds obviously have to just be a little bit cautious of, those little momentary switches off, but outside of that, defended very well last night for what they had to do, judging the game on how it was set up. And attacked in the first half incredibly well and did a lot of really, really good things. So we'll go through each of the players, give them a rating, and then at the end of that, we're going to look at each of the goals, the Leeds United goals, as well as the West Ham goals, and just give you a little bit of a deeper dive into those. And again, let me know your thoughts on this. It's something new. Won't have a chance to do this every weekend. The wife is gigging in Galway this weekend, so I've had a bit more time on my hands to kind of look at this a bit more and watch the game back in a bit more detail. Stop it, go back, look at more bits and pieces. So yeah, all in all, positive night, a very important 3 points for Leeds United to get on the board, and something that will definitely help us with that point per game average that we're hoping to keep going as long as we can. And two difficult games coming up against the Nottingham Forest side under Sean Dyche, as well as Brighton, which has never been an easy game for Leeds in the Premier League. But lots to get stuck into. We'll go through each and every player individually to give you an idea of the scale on this, just so we know where we're all coming at. 7 is a good score. It's a steady performance, 7 out of 10. I always say every side needs 2 or 3 7 out of 10 consistent players in their side. 10 is an absolutely wonder performance, but also the calibre of the opposition taken into consideration as well. If you have a Brendan Aronson style game like last night against a Manchester City, that's going to be more likely a 9.5, 10 than it is going to be against the West Ham, where it probably sits around 8.5. So yeah, that's the context of it, just how I scored them. You can make your own minds up on this, but we'll start off and we'll go with Lucas Perry in goal, first one to get to. So yeah, Lucas Perry for me did the stuff that he had to do pretty well, the basics of the game well. He commanded his area when he had to. His distribution, funnily enough, is what he gets a lot of criticism for, but his long direct balls up to Dominic Calvert-Lewin were pretty accurate. They pretty much picked him out in the first half specifically every single time, and when Calvert-Lewin had players around him to play off of those, some nice little flick-ons and gave Leeds some good opportunities to attack. Cleared the ball well when he had to. He swept at times as well, getting out ahead of Chris Somerville in the second half to put the ball out of play, to just take the pressure off Leeds as well. And he dealt with all the crosses that came into the box pretty well. So yeah, for me, a couple of eccentric saves. The one that he kind of dives outwards and palms it back towards the goal line. He celebrated that like a goal. But he's Brazilian, you know, so we're going to get a bit of eccentricity from a Brazilian, and you want that from Brazilian players, don't you? You don't ever want to see the fun taken out of a Brazilian player. But yes, for me, solid game from Lucas Perry back in the side. We'll again need more and more time just to get used to the league and everything else, but a 7.5 for me. Good performance from Lucas Perry. Moving on, Jayden Bogle, again, excellent at right back, and he really is just becoming one of Leeds' standout players on a consistent basis for me. Excellent going forward, which we all expect from Jayden Bogle. But he kept Chris Somerville incredibly quiet for a defender who can't defend, if you listen to a lot of what people say. I thought he was really, really good in this, and he defended excellently well for Leeds United and did all the stuff he needed to do. Cree was nearly non-existent in the first and second half. So, yeah, really good performance from him as well. Got forward when he needed to. Distribution has been better than it has been in a lot of games recently. So, for me, Jayden Bogle gets an 8 out of 10. Really good performance from him at right back. Moving into the first centre-backs, and Joe Rodon. Excellent again. I love Joe Rodon. I have a bias towards Joe Rodon. He's one of my absolute favourite players just because of how he approaches the game. He gives absolutely everything for that shirt, and I'm delighted to see he's just, every game I watch him now, I think he's more and more capable of being a Premier League player, showing people that he's very much a Premier League level player. Scores another goal again last night. Daniel Farke's greatest ever achievement is continuing to move forward. So he's 3 goals this season for Joe Rodon, 2 in the league for Leeds and 1 for Wales. His best haul so far in a league season. So well done to Joe Rodon. Distribution out from the back is good. Organises that back line really well. Is the vocal person there. You can see him trying to tell players to get out and talk to them, and defends really, really well. For me, one thing about Joe Rodon that stands out, he's always the player covering if somebody else is out of position in the back line, so reads the game incredibly well. So for me, 8.5, bang on man of the match territory for me with an 8.5, so well done to Joe Rodon. Moving on then to Jakob Biel, his debut in the Premier League, and that it should be taken into context as well with his performance. Some people weren't blown away from him. Other people thought he was excellent. Really, a very big split in this one. But yeah, for me, first ever Premier League game, I thought he was very good. I thought he was physical and aggressive, but I like that on my defenders. Gets a bit too close to players, maybe a little bit sometimes, but he kept Callum Wilson very quiet, who can be quite an irritating striker for defenders to have to deal with. Big headers were won by him as well, clears his lines well, big in tackles. But yeah, all in all for me, very good game from Jakob Biel. I gave him an 8. Love to know your thoughts on that. For me, good start from him, hopefully more to come, but an 8 out of 10 for me for Biel. Moving on then, Gabby Goodmunson at left back. Hell of a first half by Gabby, and really a real shame that he had to go off then the first half with what looks like, and Daniel Farkas says hopefully it's just a bit of a bruise and an impact injury, and hopefully he'll be fine in a couple of days' time. But on the left hand side, it was excellent with him. The link up play between Goodmunson and Noah Okafor for me was stand out in the first half, and everything came down Leeds' left side. It was real positive stuff, even with Jacobi on that left hand side linking with them as well. Thought it was really, really good. Defends very well, gets back, covers, blocks crosses, intercepts balls, reads the game very well. And then going forward, he's a joy to watch going forward. His overlapping runs and then underlaps at times when he has to as well. I gave him an 8 out of 10 just based on the minutes he had on the pitch. Thought he was really, really good, and that was the area that once he went off and Okafor went off, that West Ham started to get a bit of joy in, as Leeds were weakened severely on that side. But nothing the manager can do about that. Injuries are injuries. Moving into the midfield, and Ethan Ampadu. Excellent performance for me for Ethan Ampadu. There's a caveat to this coming towards the end, but thought he was really good. I like what Ethan Ampadu does in the middle of the park. He sweeps very well, he cleans up, he wins second balls and keeps us ticking over. And sometimes he can be a bit slow in his distribution, but last night not the case. Was bursting through lines to get forward. Even had a fantastic run forward with maybe shouldn't be shooting on his left foot, but he did it twice. Just needs to release the ball at times a little bit earlier when he does do that, because he could have got players in. But great to see him doing that, and he did break the lines and take pressure off Leeds. Yep, all in all, really, really good performance. He was my man of the match up until the very, very end, when he just switches off for the goal. And for me, he loses a half a point for that because they score from that as well. We'll show you that in a bit more detail at the back end of this video. But yeah, for me, 7.5 from Ethan Ampadu. Very good performance from him. Captain's performance by all accounts. And yeah, would have been an 8 only for that goal at the end, but taking nothing away from his performance, it was really, really strong by Ampadu. Moving on to Ao Tanaka now, and good first half by Ao. Was very, very good, moves the ball well. Again, in pressurised areas where lots of players around, he can pick it up and just takes the heat off it a little bit and moves it around. Blocking past the lanes very well as well. Second half though, for me, goes out of the game as soon as Leeds start to sit back. Doesn't really suit his game at that point. Maybe a change should have been made a bit earlier. I was surprised he came off and not Sean Longstaff, and we'll get to Sean in a minute. Nothing about his performance, but everything to do with just legs in the game. But yeah, good performance now tonight. Second half went out of it a little bit for me, but the whole midfield for me went out of it in the second half. But yeah, solid 7 out of 10 from Ao Tanaka. Isn't going to dominate games in midfield the way he did in the Championship, but the more games he gets in the Premier League, I personally think he's very much a Premier League level midfield, and I like him. He's tidy in possession, and that's a big thing that I look for. But yeah, good performance from Ao Tanaka, 7 out of 10. Moving on to the other midfield, and then Sean Longstaff. Everywhere in the first half. The man gets through a severe amount of work early on in games. He covered every single blade of grass. Again, something I like to see and I wanted to see from Leeds in this game. Really aggressive in that first half, getting close to players, tackling them hard as well. And then again, moves the ball quite well. There's the odd time where he passes the ball into areas rather than to two players. I think he assumes sometimes players are going to be there. They're not always there. So sometimes can be a little bit loose in the passing and gives it away, but not that common and not that often. Second half was very different, and I wonder, was the output and was this illness issue that was going around the camp a factor in Sean Longstaff's second half performance? Because the difference in first and second when Leeds dropped off, Longstaff wasn't getting close enough to Paqueta, was giving him an awful lot of space, wasn't getting close enough to win those tackles that he was winning in the first half, and just looked a little bit leggy in the second half. And maybe he just burned himself out in the first half, getting through the amount of work that he did. And that's not a criticism at all. I would much rather have a player who would give you absolutely everything for 60 minutes and then put his hand up and tell the manager, I'm spent, take me out. But yeah, very good first half from him. Second half was a weird one. Leeds shaping the second half. Again, the changes didn't help things, but enforced changes. But yeah, 7 out of 10, still a solid game from Sean Longstaff and nothing to be ashamed of by any stretch of the imagination. Moving on then to the wide players, and Brendan Aronson, the first one up, probably his best game in a Leeds United shirt. Again, the level being important in the Premier League. I thought he was really good in possession in the first half. He won the ball back when he had to as well. The physicality thing is always labelled against Brendan, but in the first half for me, he won plenty of balls back off West Ham defenders. That front press, he does really, really well. He blocks balls down the line, he wins them back, and he kept the ball really well, even surrounded by players at times. And he was, in the second half, Leeds' major outlet for trying to get out when they were under a bit of pressure. And that run that he makes for what would have been probably one of the contenders for goal of the season was desperately unlucky. And I'd like to see more of that from him. Last time I saw that, I talked an awful lot about this, was Crystal Palace away the last year we were in the Premier League. But yeah, good in possession, took his goal well. We'll get to his goal. His reading of that is very good as well. He makes up a lot of ground to get to that, and when you watch it in the stills, you see just how much he saw that coming and made himself get into a really, really good position. But yeah, overall, excellent game. Good in possession, good out of possession, works hard, gets through a ton of work. 8.5 for me. He was very much up there at man the match territory for me. Will he do it every week? That's the question, and that's what we want to see from Brendan Aronson. If that's his level, if he can do that every single week. Nobody will have any complaints about Brendan Aronson. Workhorse most of the time, but last night the quality was there as well. So good work from Brendan Aronson. No, Okafor then on the other side, probably Leeds' most dangerous player going forward, most creative player anyway. Stays high, stops fullbacks getting forward, likes to take them on. And we don't have many players that really do that outside of him. So he did that really, really well. Farkas said he planned to play him for 55 minutes. And because the way the first half went on to nearly 60 minutes, the decision was made to take him off at half time. No injury there, just minding his minutes more than anything else. So can't fault the manager from that perspective. Having him fit for games is important. So Daniel Farke needing to rotate there when he needed to. Wouldn't mind seeing him do that more often with other players as well. But yeah, smart decision made there to take him out. Doesn't give us what we want going forward with the change. But in terms of keeping Okafor fit and on the park, he gave us everything in that first 45 minutes. We got what we wanted from him, and we can all relax then and move on. DCL up top, strange one to analyse. So as a striker who played as a number 9, I'm going to analyse this as a player in and out of possession. I'm going to go full hecky on this one. Breaking it down the first half, worked his absolute socks off. For the whole game, I've never seen Dominic Calvert-Lewin get through so much running. Some in the first half was supported by players. In the second half, incredibly isolated. But first half, link-up play was good. Hold-up play was good. Up against a very strong defender in Todibo as well, who was very physical with him. Lays the ball off well when he's got players around him, and it looks really, really good in those positions. Looked leggy in the second half. Had got through a ton of work, a load of running. A lot of kind of, I suppose, pointless running, you can call it that if you wanted to a degree. Just, closing players down, trying to take pressure off Leeds, not really getting a huge amount of support. But I think I possibly would have changed him about 65 and brought Lucas Mecha on for that kind of more physical hold-up player that you get from Mecha. But nothing to do with performance, just from a legs perspective. He did look spent when he went on, but he's getting through a huge amount of work up there for Leeds United. I give him a 7.5 from a work rate, hold-up perspective and link-up play, judging that those are the main areas that he played in that game. So for me, he had a very good performance from that sole lone striker. And again, if you're playing up front on your own, you don't have support in that second half. There's not a huge amount that you can do when you're surrounded by defenders. So Leeds need to just get closer to him at times. First half, we did it excellently well. Second half, not so much. Moving on to the substitutes, James Justin comes in for Gabby Goodmunson, changes the approach, as was Jack Harrison coming in for Noah Okafor. We go from being very expansive and attacking down that left-hand side to being just a little bit more defensive, and West Ham looked to capitalise on that, but he defended really well for me, James Justin. You can see now why Leeds brought him in as that backup option for right or left back. Solid, good in the tackles, takes the yellow card when he has to take a yellow card, fouls in the right areas to take pressure off again when he does. But again, for me, aggressive in tackles, and I love that. So 7 out of 10 for him for the game, for the minutes that he played. Good, solid game from James Justin. Jack Harrison comes on, and we know what we get with Jack Harrison. I'm not going to take points off him for not being a creative player. That's just not who he is. But judge him on the performance that we've seen. My opinions on Jack Harrison are known, but I'll be fair and I'll be balanced. From a defensive perspective, he worked really, really well. There was a couple of moments where Leeds were under pressure on the corner flag, and he got in, won the ball, cleared it, and gave Leeds an opportunity to get out. Again, tidy in possession. He kept the ball when we needed to keep it, take a bit of pressure off. Yeah, it doesn't give you much going forward, but that's what you get with Jack Harrison. So it was very different Leeds' left side of the pitch in that second half, and that's probably where Leeds' push forward was removed because of those changes. But again, enforced changes, there's not a huge amount the manager can do about that. But yeah, 7 out of 10 for Jack for what he did. From a defensive perspective, very solid. Leeds were under the cosh for the most of the second half, and he defended well, won his tackles. No issues there. Ilya Groove came on. Gets a lower mark for me just because the amount of time that he was on the pitch, but he does what you expect from Ilya Groove. He does the ugly side of the game very well. He does the basics very well. Goes in, wins tackles, is physical, wins the ball back. That's his job. Let somebody else do it. Again, took a smart yellow card when he needed to take a smart yellow card and pull the player back, take pressure off Leeds again. So for me, all very good. 6.5 out of 10, but that's mostly just because of the amount of time he had on the pitch. And then Dan James and Lucas Mecha, no ratings for both of those players. Nothing to do with their performances, just they weren't on the pitch long enough to really give them a rating. Would have liked to see both of them come on maybe 5-10 minutes earlier as well, just to give Leeds a bit more of an outlet to try and get out Dan James running the flanks. But again, going back to Daniel Farke's comments after the game, the illnesses were worse in the camp than he made out during the week, which was smart of him to do that. You don't want to give that away to the opposition. But yeah, maybe there was factors there that were out of his hands. And as he said, he would have liked to have subbed 11 players at one point, but couldn't do that because the options weren't available to him, and you can't sub 11 players either. But yeah, I thought maybe a little bit earlier for me would have been nice to see them come on. But look, ultimately at the end, Leeds get the 3 points, and that's all that matters. So yeah, all in all, good performances, attacking and defensively. Watching the game, that second half was incredibly nervy. I don't like seeing Leeds play like that in the second half, but when you watch it back, when you know the result and the pressure's off, it was a good defensive performance by Leeds United. Do I think he was managing the game at 45 minutes to the end of the game? No, I don't. I think we sat back, But again, ends justify the means, and only for a momentary lapse in concentration from Ethan Ampadu. Again, tiredness probably a factor. It's a 2-0 win. You're talking about a clean sheet and an excellent defensive performance. So there is context to everything, I suppose. Let's get into the breakdown and have a look at the goals that we scored and we conceded. We'll start off with the first goal for Leeds United. And what we see here from two areas that are highlighted, Brendan Aronson's position and Noah Okafor's position are highlighted here. And I think both of the players make excellent runs for this goal. The pass from Longstaff is a little bit behind Brendan Aronson, but he manages to get to it and move the ball to the right-hand side over to Jayden Bogle. Bogle then, when he gets it on the right-hand side, looks to cross again. Look where Brendan Aronson's position is at this point, and look where Noah Okafor is. And then when you get to when the ball goes in the back of the net, it's really impressive. As the cross comes in, Okafor's already made up that ground. That's a hell of a lot of ground to get in the header. And Brendan Aronson's now in a nice little pocket of space and looking for second balls. And as the header is won, Brendan Aronson is now positioned very nicely between the two defenders. And as it comes out, he taps that one in. So yeah, all around good work by both of those players. Covered a lot of ground to get in there, and that's positive. But another really good ball by Jayden Bogle. Nothing that we don't expect from him at this point. Second goal, it's a really good movement from Joe Rodon. Simple enough. It's a Sean Longstaff assist. Another one for him. And as he clips it in, Joe Rodon does a little 360 pirouette around Lucas Paquetá and wins his header and puts the ball into the corner. Straightforward one to analyse, not a huge amount to it. West Ham won't be happy with the defending on that. We wouldn't be if that was us. But Rodon does very, very well to get in there. And then the goal that we conceded, this is an interesting one. There's a couple of little factors in this. The time is about 89th minute, but then you add in the 15 minutes of additional time in the first half, and you're heading towards 100 minutes of football at this point, past 100 minutes of football at that point. But Ethan Ampadu is with Fernandez on the edge of the penalty area. He's marking it. Joe Rodon in behind him is looking after Wilson as that cross looks like it's going to come in from Jared Bowen. Everybody's picked up where they need to be picked up. Nothing wrong in this situation. But again, I've talked about this a few times this year, looking at the body shape and the eyes and the direction of the heads of the players. Ethan Ampadu very much watching the football at this point and not aware of his man. You take it on a couple of yards later and Ampadu has lost Fernandez. He's still not looking at Fernandez. He's gone beyond him now, and Fernandez has put himself in a position a lot of strikers would like to be in between the two centre backs. It's a difficult position for defenders to deal with, and again, Rodon is still aware of what's behind him, and Bial is covering that front post area where he should be. And then as the ball is about to clip in, there's a little movement in Ethan Ampadu's arm here, as if he's telling somebody else to pick him up. But Ampadu needs to stay with him, and he needs to pick him up. And we've seen Ampadu drop into those middle areas between the two centre-backs at times as well. And then as the ball comes in, Fernandez is miles away from Ampadu. He's lost him completely, and it's flicked into the back of the net. But let me know your thoughts on the game, the goals, ratings on the players, what you think about this as a segment, if we do it moving forward more. Or if you don't like this and don't do it again, ever again. We'll see how we go. But yeah, remember, the ratings, everything, this is all subjective. It's just how I view football. I'd love to know your way of viewing it and how you view the match. But let me know your stuff down below. It's a bit of fun. Shouldn't take this too seriously. It's a nice one to break down. A nice one to break down as a win for Leeds United. So, yeah, a lot of good things in this game. Specifically the first half. Defending in the second half was very, very good. Again, that moment of a lapse is the only issue for me. But outside of that, defended really, really well. Would I like to see Leeds push forward more often in the second half? Yes. Would I like to see a drop-off stop? Yes. But that's me. It's not Daniel Farke. He has his own way of doing things. And the ends, as I say, justify the means. 3 points for Leeds United. A big 3 points. And puts pressure on sides at the weekend to get their results. But Leeds will go into next weekend in a much better position with a 7-point gap over West Ham United, which is what they want to be building up as we go through the next few games. Folks, that'll be it for me until Monday morning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll talk to you soon. See you later.